Well, today we'll talk about what's happening in the food scene in DC and around the country, the future of restaurants as the pandemic winds down, and Jose Andres' generosity of spirit. For all of those joining us today as a guest, there is a question and answer box at the bottom of your screen. All lines will be muted, but I will be taking questions at the end of the program. So introducing our panelists, Jose Andres has restaurants around the country and has done humanitarian work around the world, but calls the DC area his home. He's a culinary ambassador and visionary, and established the World Central Kitchen in 2010 as a means for feeding the many. He uses culinary training programs to empower communities and strengthen economies, as well as food disaster relief in the wake of emergencies around the globe. Lacoste is her own neighborhood chef superstar. She's a board member of the Foggy Bottom West End Village, as well as several other local organizations, including the Restaurant Association of Metropolitan Washington. She's also a member of the Fresh Farm Market Board, the Kitchen Cabinet for the Smithsonian's American History Museum, and the DC Women in Food. Riss serves on the Mayor's Commission of Nightlife and Culture and is a camp CEO of the Girl Scouts of America. Both chefs have made significant contributions to the Foggy Bottom West End Village. Riss received the village's first Torch Award for Community Spirit in 2017 for her service to the community, and Jose Andres' World Central Kitchen will be this year's recipient. So let's go ahead and get started. We are nearing the end of the pandemic, hopefully. We've been through a lot. We started with a shutdown and gone through many iterations of temperature checks, replacement of food menus with QR codes, and a lot of different things. My first question is, how has your experience during the pandemic inform your outlook on the DC food scene in the foreseeable future? Riss, would you like to start with that one?
Well, you know, we're so over the pandemic, everybody. Aren't we, Jose? We're really tired of it. I think that there's going to be I'm curious to see what the changes will be, what the new habits will be. I think that people are starting to come out, and they are coming out. I think dining will change. It's beautiful to see a bunch of people on the street. So the streeteries have come alive. They need to be freshened up and I think made to look good, but it's so nice to feel like you're in Europe and some places that have really stepped up their streeteries and their outdoor dining. I think people are going to dine more outside. They've learned. I'm fortunate. I love my clientele. They've been so supportive and great, and they have done takeout for a year and a half, and they're still doing takeout. So I think they've discovered that. But I also think we've lost a lot of good restaurants. I think there will be a pause in a lot of empty spaces, but I do think that a whole new slew of restaurants will come in. The government has been very generous and we are all here because of them. I know that I should just speak for myself, and for the great, the generosity of all taxpayers, the tax money that has come to me to keep me alive. But it's been hard. We're all happy that it's over, and we all need help. So I'm pleading to any one of you who have children or somebody who wants to start in the restaurant business to send them all our way. So there's a lot. The food scene is going to change, but I think Jose, you can address, the food scene in itself. I just think that the dining habits are going to be different, and I think people are eager to be back out again, sitting at bars, and doing what they enjoy, because people really love dining out, and thankfully for that.
Yeah, I agree with all the things you said, Riss. Obviously, myself, which I'm a guy that I left school very young, and I learned in the streets of life. When the pandemic kind of began, even in the early days, I remember the 31st of December reading about what was going on in China, and waking up in the beginning of January. The first thing we all tried to do, at least myself, is like, what happened in 1918, right? With a badly called Spanish flu pandemic that was so devastating. And more recently now is like, what happened in 1920 once the Spanish flu was ending and the pandemic was
Beautiful.
moving away. And we saw there was a lot of growth in the economy. People went out in masses again, restaurants, dining, lives came back. People began making more money, workers began making more money. Unfortunately, the Spanish flu, a lot of people has died in this pandemic, and the Spanish flu was very bad, especially with younger people. This one, unfortunately, the flu is being very bad with older people. So I do believe that fundamentally agree with Reese. People are going to come out again. People cannot wait. We already see it in some parts in the States, obviously, parts of Florida and others. California is reopening, Washington is reopening, New York. The world slowly is reopening. I will say for our friends listening to us right now that this pandemic is not over yet. I just came back from India. India is having a very tough time right now, even already is declining the number of COVID cases, but they are afraid that in October is going to be a very big one again. I am very worried that the people didn't get vaccinated. I will tell everybody, please listen to your instincts, but listen to the people and listen to the experts. And the good experts I follow, they tell you, if you are vaccinated, you're going to be fine. We cannot mandate. I will not mandate any of my employees to be vaccinated, but as a friend, I will tell them that 98% or 99% of the people going to hospitals right now are people that are not vaccinated. So let's be smart and let's use science to keep everybody safe. How are we going to change fundamentally? I think we're going to be appreciating so much more when we go to a place. I hope we are going to be nicer and kinder to everybody in the restaurant business, which is still a hard business. Everybody thinks that owners of restaurants and are full of cash and everybody is making a lot of money. I done well in the restaurant business, has allowed me to have a good life and my family. But everybody forgets that when things don't go in the right way, restaurants are a very difficult place. The same for employees. We need to make sure that the people that feed America are able to feed themselves. And we know that can be inequality in the restaurant business, but I think we are getting better every day, and we must do more to make sure that the restaurant business is a great place for everybody to work. The big majority of the people in the world, more than 10%, are in the food business. In America, we create a lot of employment. We give a lot of hope. We create a lot of economic growth. But I'm going to say this. I do believe we're going to go back. I do believe that we are all coming out of this pandemic understanding that the numbers, when we open a restaurant, they need to function, they need to work, that we need to pay the right lease, that we need to pay the right wages, that we need to pay. I think we are all becoming much more aware that we cannot be signing any lease or anything. The prices we charge, everything requires to function and work properly. We saw a lot of restaurants closing. I have a feeling many of them, this was hard for many. Some restaurants, maybe we signed, me first, the wrong lease. I closed 2 restaurants. Why? Because I couldn't afford it. It was not smart anymore. So even people like me, others, I think we are all learning that we need to be loving our craft, our art, which is feeding people. And this needs to keep being a craft, an art, but it's very important. We never forget the numbers that have to make everything function. So if something happens in the future, we don't go down in the first moment of trouble.
Jose, you mentioned looking at expenses, looking at leases in particular. Is there anything else that restaurateurs can do to set them up for success in this post-pandemic world?
Well, listen, I think good business is when it's good business for everybody, right? Good business for the person. We forget that the vast majority of restaurants in America, more than 500,000 restaurants, they are small owner operators, small family restaurants. We need to remember that something like creates the more wealth in America. We seem always to be talking about corporations. I have no problem with corporations. I want them to do well. They create a lot of jobs. but we forget that the small business, when we bring all the small business of America together, we are the biggest employer of all. What happened, we don't work as one because it's a lot of little business, but we are very powerful tool. It's what moves America forward. Are the small farmers, the small restaurant owners, the small shop owners. That's what moves America forward in very powerful ways. So we cannot forget that power, especially when we work together. But good business means that it's good business for everybody. We forget that many landlords are sometimes family landlords, that they put their investment in buildings. They need to do well, but also the restaurant owner needs to do well, but also the employees need to do well. So I would say that what must be good for you must be good for the others. We cannot have some of us doing well, but then the others not. No? And we saw in this pandemic, what was better, used to pay a fixed cost on rent or to have a percentage fee. Depends what you sell. Is always the same percentage is what you sell. It's a lot of equations. What we need to be smart is in adapting and to see what works for every neighborhood, for every scenario, for every partnership. I see partnerships with landlords and the investors and the employees as a true partnership. It has to work for everybody. If it doesn't work for everybody, you are not creating wealth for the community. And at the end of the day, we don't make it if everybody doesn't make it. So I think going forward, this is what needs to be more part of the game.
Yeah, I think partnerships are definitely an important piece. And Riz had mentioned the partnership or the additional piece of government, right? The government support during the pandemic. Riz, can you tell us a little bit more about how the restaurant community has worked with the city to ensure a balance between the public health and the viability of restaurants?
Yeah, I think that they have worked nonstop. The Restaurant Association, for one, has worked nonstop, hand in hand with the mayor. Again, I'm a commissioner, on the nightlife and culture and on the commission, and I know how hard they work at getting as many grants, as much help to restaurants as they can. They're just helping with the SBA loans, helping with the grants, helping everything they can to keep us alive, because we are such as Jose, so many brilliant things that Jose just said. We are such a major force for the economy of this restaurant. And I very much agree that it's going to come back. I love that you said, Jose, 1920. What happened in 1920 after the pandemic? The economy just boomed, and that's what we want to hope for everyone. And so I think that we've worked for staff people, we've worked for getting everyone vaccinated. There's been many, many efforts that the government has helped us to get and to be here. So many of us are here today because of that help. We would not be if it weren't for that. Helping with the landlords, helping with so many different things, every single aspect. Every day was a bit of a struggle. There was a good day and, it was just very, very difficult to get through, but we survived it. And I think that, so the government has helped in many ways, gave us streetery grants, gave us lots of different small grants, worked with the bars, worked with nightlife, worked with all kinds of different things. I mean, they worked endlessly, and the Restaurant Association did as well, in helping us every step of the way to stay alive and to stay open. So I think that, and then the federal grants came, PPP, PP1, PPP2, and then RRF. So all of this funding came through, and we could not be more grateful.
Great. And Jose, you've also
but the economy will give all of that back to the city as well, because the economy will boom. And as Jose mentioned, our staff are getting paid more money now, which is great, and they need to get paid more money. Minimum wage has to go up, and all of that. And all of that is going to build the economy so beautifully. So we were so very much appreciated during this time. We were frontline. And I think that appreciation is going to carry through our customers who have been ever so grateful for us being there. So all of that is I think all good things are going to come.
Thanks. And Jose, you've also been involved with some federal initiatives to help restaurants as well. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, this looks like the longest 1.5 years of our life. My God.
My God is right.
listen, when the 1st of February, we were, World Central Kitchen, we were feeding in Japan, when the first cruise ship with COVID cases was arriving to Yokohama. We went there because we have a good relationship with Carnival cruise ships. And why they call a group of chefs? Because I guess we've done cholera so many times in Mozambique, in Haiti, that we handle cholera very well. And where we feed, there's never cholera cases right after we start feeding. And I guess that gave us this kind of who was going to tell me experience in handling something like COVID was going to become. Before we knew, we were doing the same at the call of Governor Newsom in California when we went to Oakland, and another cruise ship was arriving. Before we knew, March 1st, we thought, man, this is coming this is not just for Asia, this is for the world. This is going to be as bad as some people are saying or more. And so for us, the first thing was, if this is a true pandemic, we saw that, yes, restaurants were going to be closed, as we saw happening in China, already happening in Italy, was about to start happening in Spain. And obviously the thinking is, okay, where restaurants are going to have to close, what role restaurants can play? Obviously in emergencies, unfortunately, sometimes we cannot use after a hurricane certain restaurants because everything is destroyed. But this is an emergency, which is the most strange of emergencies, because it's not destruction, but the business stopped functioning. Obviously, it was very smart that the government came up on that, and I will praise the Trump administration for coming up with PPP and helping with the payroll protection program to help restaurants. Even we became, obviously, initially the unemployment office. Well, it's not like the money was coming directly to the restaurants, and especially in the early months, that PPP kept changing by the day. And we nobody was sure if we could even use the money, or it was going to cost us money, or because the restaurants were not in condition of asking for more loans when we already, many of us, we have loans that we have to pay and we couldn't even afford. So I think PPP was very helpful. And then the whole amount of things that different states or cities. I think Mayor Bowser, I agree with Reese. I know she was criticized at times for certain things. Listen, when you are a leader, always somebody is going to criticize you. I do believe I'm giving a big round of applause to Mayor Bowser, because in the hardest time of Washington, D.C., I can tell you she was there front and center, leading all of us forward. Sure, I was unhappy with certain decisions or non-decisions, but my God, this woman did God's work, leading Washington, D.C. forward in our most difficult hour. If she wants to be the mayor for the next 40 years, or even better, the governor or the senator, whatever she wants to be, she's going to always get my vote, because she did God's work. I was able to be invited to the Reopen DC, which I was very happy also to be like Reese and contributing. So I was the co-chair of the restaurant and nightlife during that period. I remember we were recommending very bold measures, like let's use the streets. I'm very happy that Susan Rice, that remember she was the chairwoman of Ambassador Rice of Opening DC, helping Mayor Bowser lead the reopening. And many good ideas came out of that. I know not everybody was happy with everybody, but again, leading is difficult in hardship. Right. Still, I believe the leadership of everybody combined was important. Obviously, the Washington Restaurant Association. And then at the national level, obviously, what World Central Kitchen was able to do, which I'm very proud. At one moment, we were doing over 300,000 meals a day in America alone. We were able to do 14 cities. We've been in hurricanes, volcanoes, the explosion in Beirut, earthquakes in Indonesia. Myself, as I said, I came back from India. But we did something smart. If the restaurants are closed, when I shut down my restaurants on the 14th of March, 13th of March, I announced that the day after, my restaurants were going to become community kitchens. This was only showing the path of what I believe had to be the role of the restaurants, the ones that could do it or could afford it. Because believe me, at the very beginning, we had to protect our families. So I will not finger point on anybody that will go home, because everybody had to protect themselves first until we knew more of the pandemic. But at the same time, we had people in need, and we had elderly homes that all of a sudden they were not getting food. Homeless shelters, all of a sudden were not getting food. First responders, hospitals. So World Central Kitchen began putting restaurants up on work. At one moment, we had almost 3,000 restaurants across America where we were able to pay them thanks to the donations we were receiving from the American people, that they know how good we are in emergencies. We channeled the money through the restaurants. No restaurant got rich, but we were able to pay per meal. So the restaurants at least could pay their employees, could pay their rent, could pay the farmers. This became the Feed Act, bipartisan support in a moment that politicians were not talking to each other from the right and the left. We got bipartisan support in Congress, we got in the House, in the Senate, and this was a way to show that food is a very powerful unifier. More than 87% of Americans believe that every American should be fed. So let's use food as the great unifier in a moment that America needs longer tables the most. And that's very much what we did. The different areas we were trying to help, beyond trying to be helping USDA to do boxes for families, from farmers to families, giving ideas to the previous administration and this administration of a smart food solution. So we will not have hungry people in the cities and farmers throwing out all the produce because nobody was buying from them. So we tried to be providing ideas with real solutions in real time with boots on the ground. Few things work very well, other things we can all do better, but the learning is there. In the next pandemic, let's hope it never happens. I hope all together we're going to be smarter in how we are going to be using those good ideas to respond quicker, and the ones we didn't execute so well, how we can improve them, so all together we can have an amazing response in any emergency that if happens in the future.
What were some of the lessons learned? If you could go back and do something differently, what would you do? I know we were dealing with limited information and things were changing, and we did a great job. What would you do? Anything different?
Well, it's many lessons learned. For example, not to put a medal to my organization, but how is possible that a group of cooks, we were delivering N95 masks to hospitals across Maryland, Virginia, Pennsylvania, New York. When we saw the beginning of the pandemic, we began buying masks because we had to protect our own people. How is possible that NGO of cooks was already forecasting that we will need a lot of masks? How is possible that we were so slow in responding to something so simple? How it is possible that something like we have enough experts, we were all washing our bags coming from the supermarket because somebody said that we could be passing the virus to everything. And we were even afraid of going shopping and bringing a bag into home, when now we all know that this was happening in the air. We need to be quicker and faster coming with those assumptions. If not, we create the false enemies, and we don't concentrate in the important one. At the very beginning, how we said that maybe masks were not important. Those are shortfalls in the big picture, right? In the restaurant community, what I'm the happiest is that at World Central Kitchen, we were able to develop a health protocol that not even the CDC was able to produce. I'm expecting that the CDC, if it's taking care of the health of every American, next time, and also with the World Health Organization, the leadership will be there right in front on making sure everybody knows how to take care of themselves and their families, that the business knows how to take care of their employees and their customers. That leadership was not there in the early weeks, if not months, of the pandemic. And we must do better. Cannot be taking months and months, if not a year, to come with health protocols that are shared to all. But I'm very proud that my community, the restaurant chef community, World Central Kitchen, took an important leadership role in bringing those health parameters forward. So those are the things that I believe we wasted very important time. We know that many of us, me first, we invested money in acrylic panels to separate people. I read yesterday that this was not a good idea. So we go from white to black. I still think was a good idea, because if you were a bartender in the bar and you had an acrylic, will protect you from somebody directly passing any air or any virus to you. So what I sense, and this is a big mistake, that we will go from white to black and from black to white, when usually the best solution is somewhere in the middle. Maybe we were too slow, too quick closing, and then we were too quick reopening, and then we were too slow reopening. I think we are all learning that true leadership is to be very measured in the actions, very quick in the decisions, and very quick executing those decisions. At times, I feel we were quick when we were not supposed to be so quick, and too slow when we were, if 1 second we were saying that without finger pointing at anybody, because this virus is the virus of everybody, of all humanity, because this virus can start next time in any part in America, in any part in Spain, in any part in Africa. The virus belongs to all of us. We all fight it together and win it together. It's not finger pointing to anybody. But if you know the virus is in one particular part of the planet, don't let planes just coming from those parts spreading the virus. We were super slow on that. And I hope our leaders will be bolder and quicker and faster making decisions. And if they are not leaders good enough to take that lead, those leaders should always move aside and let people that are willing to lead with boots on the ground. That's the lesson I learned.
Thank you. Well, I think you both did a fantastic job with the information that we had, and all of the work that you do outside the walls of your restaurants. And Riz, there's a sign that is right outside of your restaurant next to the door about how to build community that catches my eye every time I walk by. Can you tell us a little bit about the work that you do in the community and what inspires you?
I'm sure. Well, I applaud Jose for the work that he did, work that he does all the time in World Central Kitchen. We benefited from that as much as, and we gave to that. So early on, we worked with an organization called Off Their Plate, and we fed GW and Georgetown University hospital staff, and through the funding that Jose just talked about, the World Central Kitchen. So thank you for that very much, Jose. But I think community is so important. I grew up and lots of people from the village know this already. When I won my torch award, I grew up with a father and a mother, and my father would preach to us and look for opportunity when he walked out the door every day to be able to, that something would come up that he could help somebody. He had a big thing of sand in the back for the winter streets. When somebody got stuck, he picked up every animal on the road that was stranded. He brought them home to us 7 kids. He's just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful soul. And I do that every day when I walk out my door. I have my neighborhood community, and I have right now my hotel community, my restaurant community. And to walk by and everyone say, "Good morning, chef," is one of the most beautiful things in the world. When this pandemic hit, I made every single delivery myself. I took every order, made every single delivery, and I wanted that. I want my customers to feel safe when they come into the restaurant, and I wanted that safety. I had my gloves on and my mask, and I wanted them to feel safe that I was delivering to them. So it really, really created that community in itself. And I hand delivered all food to them, and I it's been a blessing. It's just been a really, really beautiful experience. But just in general in life, I mean, Jose and I both worked with DC Central Kitchen, and I would be there every Thursday night making food, clearing out the little canned goods shelves and making something out of it. And I have given myself to many boards, to people. I have worked tirelessly all my life in my small way to give somebody directions who's lost and has a map in their hand, every little thing. And I so believe we need always to put ourselves in other people's shoes, and we need to have that empathy. And that is what I want to take from this pandemic, is to, in our each in our own small world, is I think a lot of that is going to happen, where people really appreciated us, as Jose mentioned earlier, appreciated restaurant people. And I think that how much we give, and their understanding of that is going to blossom. And I just really, really feel that you're better for yourself if you give to others first. And it's a selfish thing. It feels wonderful to be the generosity of spirit, to be kind, to do everything you can to put a smile on somebody's face is the best feeling in the world. And I share that with my staff. I share that with everybody I know. So, I'm a good girl, and I love people, and I am blessed and privileged to have a job that allows me to give. So, and I thank my mom and dad.
I mean, I want to add that, when I came to Washington, D.C. as a 23-year-old boy, where nobody could understand my accent very much like now, Reese was already, a trailblazer power in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. gave a young boy like me the opportunity to belong. People and women like Reese make people like me feel welcome, and so many others. We forget, but Washington, D.C. has been such an amazing place, especially a man and woman that made this city amazing. Yeah. People like Susan Linderberg, people like Mary Richter, people like Bob Kincaid, people like Jean-Louis Paladin, like Roberto Donna, people like Jeff Buben, so many people like Ann Cashion, so many amazing people like Mark Fustenberg, so many other farmers and oyster farmers and fishermen and crowd, people that live 1, 2, 3 hours.
So generous. So we're all so generous. It's such a great community, the restaurant community in DC.
And what Reese was talking, like, if she's telling you now she will be going every week to DC Central Kitchen, she was, and she was doing this day in and day out, even if nobody was watching. And this gave so much hope to so many. And the fundraising the entire restaurant industry has done over the years, supporting every single cause in the city. So Reese and many other woman chefs like her, and many other Washington, D.C. chefs like her, I think Reese is this amazing example of somebody that doesn't only feed the few, but somebody that puts herself on the line to feed the many. And for that, I'm so proud to call myself a Washingtonian, so proud of what Reese has shown, a woman that forever keeps feeding. Before I arrived there, she was feeding. Here she still is feeding more than ever, every day more compromised, not only obviously with her restaurant and her team, but with the entire city as a whole. Reese, you are my sister. You are my angel. I love you. You are my hero.
I love you, sweetheart. You know that. Thank you. Thank you for all that you do.
Reese, do you have any questions for Jose?
Yeah, actually I do, honey. I again love you. I respect you and admire you as a chef, as a businessman, as a philanthropist, all the good things that you do. So I have two questions. One, where did you get your generosity of spirit? What gave you that? And secondly, your business. I just think it's amazing. Your restaurants are fabulous. I know that you have a great team behind you, and I have one restaurant, and I have a great team behind me. How do you do it? But what is the mantra? What are the three things that your staff and your people and your organization has set? What are the pillars of your community that make it work and make it so amazing?
I don't know if it's amazing. I'm still figuring this out. I think all of us, I can, sometimes I have a tear or two of people we lost, of business that closed, of people that, they're going through a hardship. And it's been a long year and a half. And in this year and a half, obviously, we've all been, even with restaurants closed, I feel we've been busier than ever, right? Which is kind of a strange, adapting and readapting and adapting again. But the most obvious thing in my world, in my company, which is not my company, it's the company that anybody that wants to belong to it, including our guests that come and want to support us, that the person, is just something like we need to wipe out. It's okay. Everybody feels proud of themselves. But everybody needs to understand that we, the people, are three very powerful words. The realization that we are only as good as the people we have around us, and that what must be good for you and your family must be good for others. If we don't believe in those simple premises, we, the people, that you are only as good as the people you have around you, and that we must all do better, it's very difficult that nothing will ever happen. Obviously, Susan Linderberg was the woman that gave me my first training when I joined Share Our Strength, where I began teaching. Thanks to her, the program was created by her and Debbie and Bill Shore on teaching families, especially women in lower income neighborhoods in DC, how to shop better, how to shop smarter, how to make sure that every dollar will multiply by 3. I'm a Christian boy, I cannot help it. It's almost multiplying fish and loaves, which can be very important to make sure that families live with dignity and with respect. And Susan, I was so happy that I was receiving my, I'm this cocky young chef that comes from a Michelin restaurant, but there you see that actually you can be learning how the cooking that my mother used to feed me and my brothers was even more important lessons to help feed people in need. And I saw that it was important to work in the best restaurants, but was as important now how you could share the talents you have of maximizing leftovers, or making breadcrumbs out of all bread, or making croquetas all of leftover chicken. And for that, I'm in eternal gratitude. And obviously, some place like this is Central Kitchen that we all love so much, and a man like Robert Egger, that he told me in the first day, very much the days after I joined him, and unlike you, we've been there forever. He told me that philanthropy seems is about the redemption of the giver, when philanthropy should be about the liberation of the receiver. It's nothing bad feeling good about you giving time or money to a cause. It's a good thing, and we want you to be proud. But doing good is not enough anymore. We all must do a smart good, so we can liberate the people we are trying to help. This is very much at the heart. Ferran Adrià, this amazing Spanish chef. He closed his restaurant 5 years ago. It's where I began cooking at the more creative level, 3-star Michelin type. He was the most generous man I ever met, because he was coming up with new techniques every other week. He was able to see food through a prism that was very difficult to understand for the vast majority of us. He could be the man that will decide not to share anything, or he could be the person that will decide to share all his knowledge. by him showing that sharing knowledge, we all become better. He make all of us better. I think those things, my mom being a nurse, opening Jaleo across the street from where Clara Barton has her offices, the missing soldiers' offices that were discovered in 1996, seeing what that woman was able to do during the Civil War, thinking, man, if a woman like this created the Red Cross and took care of the wounded soldiers in the Civil War single-handed, creating an amazing organization, chefs, cooks like you and I, that we cook for the few, we could cook for the many. So those are all little stories, right and left, Reese, that at the end build who I am in the same way you have your stories in who build who you are. What I'm very proud is that women and people like you, they've been part of my life, and that together we've been trying to make our communities slightly better than when we found them. And for that, I think all of us we should be very proud. I am very thankful for that.
And Jose, do you have any questions for Ruth?
You know, Reese, very often, and I think women are so much more stronger than men on that. I do believe the world will be run better by women in leadership in every single role and every single position. I've seen it firsthand every time I go to communities around the world. But I think it's very important that we all celebrate the successes, and everybody wants to celebrate the success. And it's good to celebrate success. But I think where we learn the biggest lessons is in the more difficult times, how you felt and what did you do about it and how you kept going, right? I think women are so much better in showing their feelings in the hardest moments than men. Men, we are always trying to play we are the hard person, and nothing is ever wrong in our lives when we know it's far away from the truth. I think obviously people like you that have so much influence, the question will be, and you can use it in any way or form on, this was hard time, year and a half for all of us, Rick. I know it was hard for me.
That's right.
And I had, even I try always to be optimist, whatever I did, social media or anything, more often than not, inside was issues happening. Friends passing away, business having difficulty to keep open, people going hungry in communities that you didn't even had money to tackle that issue, and you try. We know we've all gone through. Can you share with us, because I think this is even more important than celebrating that we are seeing light at the end of the tunnel. If it was any of those moments that you were like, oof, today's a hard day. How did you go through it? What do you do to wake up next morning, use with more thrill, more passion, and we're going to make it no matter what. Even today, I'm not at my best. I want to know how a woman like you will keep her leadership in the restaurants, feeding people beyond in the hospitals. But how do you handle those moments that we are like, oh man, today is everything dark?
Yeah. Oh, so many, every day is like that, Jose. And thank you. I mean, it's such a true question. It's been so hard. And you do too, love what I do. I have been in the business since I was 12 years old. I'm 65. So I've been in the business for 53 years. I was slicing bologna at the young age of 12 in a Polish deli in New Bedford, Massachusetts, in my hometown. I worked there 3 days a week, every week for 4 years until I could get a real job at Friendly's or whatever. But I loved going to work every day, loved it. And this year has been so hard. It drains you, the loss of friends. I just want to say it just drained you. It drains you. You have a skeleton crew. You're working harder than ever. And you just want to get up. And you get every morning is like, I don't know that I want to go in anymore. And I used to always love going to work. But you know what? How I got through it is getting to work. Because once I'm here, and my staff and my Antonio, my dishwasher, my team, they were just so I had to be there for them. And I think that's what women are great. They're great mothers. They're great family. You know, they have that task of taking care of their people. And I think women do that. And I just really felt when I got to work that I can get through this because of them, that I had to do it because of them, that I had to, my customers, you know, it's like that need for me took over. And that satisfied me. Also, although every morning was the same thing, every morning I was exhausted. And like you said, losing friends, all the destruction, all the negativity that's out there, so much of it that you just can't take anymore. You know, I don't think I can take one more thing to knock me down, but I would take that one more thing to knock me down. But, you know, a really good thing that we did, and, you know, we have a great group of women chefs that there are some great women in the city have created. And we call it DC Women in Food. And we were there for each other. We have all kinds of chat lines, all kinds of like, what are you doing about your landlord? And what are you doing about staff? And what are you doing about this? And can you help with this? We know we all fed the guards when they were here after January 6th. So we brought food to feed them. We just kept together and kept strong and had each other. And that was also a blessing that really got us through. So I think you're absolutely right. It was been hellacious. And I say that to people that I know. I want to be optimistic too. And you know, people say, how are you? And you're like, oh, great. You know, I just say great, you know, I'm great. But you know, it got me through. It just got me through, and it just, you know, made you start thinking about yourself. That I was at the absolute low of energy, of all of that, of everything. It really, really, the constant state of pivot really, really destroyed me. And I just maintained it. And I think that we do have to realize that, because you're absolutely right. The recovery, I don't know if it's going to be harder. You know, it may be harder. It's going to be different for sure. And maybe there is light shining at the end of the tunnel, but we're starting it from a whooped state. You know, I feel some days I'm a puddle, you know, I have nothing left to give, but I know that I do. But I think now we just have to restore our bank account, restore our personal bank account, restore, you know, our energy, our strength, our spirit, because all that was used up. You know, you just constantly had to give to keep your business alive and all of that. So
thank you.
I'm carrying on.
Thank you for sharing that.
It's a true story.
Thank you for sharing that, because with that question, I want everybody here listening to us to see that we are all together on this, that we all go through moments, that we all go through hardships, but we all work to see another day, that we all try to see light at the end of the tunnel. We all try to see sunrise beyond the horizon.
You're right, Jose, right.
So we are.
That was the saving grace, Jose, that the entire world was together in this. And so you had help. All you had to do was ask for help. Everywhere you turned, you could help somebody, or somebody could help you. And that's the beautiful thing from this entire experience.
God bless. Yep.
Speaking of help and support, one of the questions we have is, are there ways to support local restaurants and their employees aside from patronizing a restaurant?
I think, Reese, I'm sure many restaurants, we have funds to support employees. What I will say is that it's different opportunities, right? What I'm going to tell everybody, if you have a particular restaurant you like, just engage with employees, engage with the chef, with the owner, and find out what they are doing to support their own employees. These organizations that support undocumented, this is the blue elephant in the room. We have more than 11 million undocumented in this country. Many of them are in DC, in Maryland, in Virginia. Many of them are the ones that kept putting food in our shelves in the restaurants, working the farms, delivering our food. You may be Republican, You may be Democrat. You may be in favor of immigrants, or maybe you have an issue with immigrants. I respect all your right to feel whatever you want. But I know Americans are about pragmatism. And if we are being pragmatic, we need to recognize that those men and women, undocumented or not, they've been working day in and day out to make sure that all of us, we were safe in our homes as we kept putting food in the table. To those men and women, we need to do more. We need to do better. It's organizations that support undocumented, but also it's ways to be supporting them, knocking the doors of our senators and congressmen to say once and for all, immigration reform is not a problem for us to solve, but an opportunity for America to seize. In a moment that we have no employees, it's about damn right time that we pass immigration reform. We put those 11 million people part of the American dream, and you will see how tomorrow we will not have any more shortages on any employee. We will all create a better America going forward if we do those type of things. So I'm José Andres, and I'm endorsing this message.
All right.
That's great.
Well, we are running out of time here. We had some questions about restaurant menus, air filtration. Are there any changes that you see that will be permanent?
I don't know a reason that on filtration. I have one called Rensair, RENSAIR. I put 4, 5, 6 in every one of my restaurants all across DC, all across America, the places. It's a system that uses the UV, the blue light, obviously the filtration system that on paper kills whatever virus is in the air. I think these systems will be here in the long term to stay beyond COVID. I think if with these systems, we can all protect ourselves from common colds and anything else. I think this will be better for the long-term health of every Washingtonian. So I took the decision of going with Rensair because it was cheaper than installing entire systems in the air conditioning system. But it's other brands and it's other people doing it. But this one has worked very well for me.
Thanks. Rich,
That's
are there
great to
any
know.
changes you've made in your restaurant that are going to be maintained?
Are you talking to me?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, you know, I really like the distancing. I think I like my dining room much better as the distance dining room, but I don't know that I may need to go back to, depending on volume, need to go back to, you know, the tables as they were, especially for private dining. But I think I'm going to keep some of the distancing away. I've certainly put all new filters as well, but I like the Rensair. I'm going to look into that. And we were in the beginning, just going to begin a renovation when the pandemic hit. So I'm going to continue on that, but nothing to do with the pandemic, but continue on that. And as far as menus, I don't know what someone asked about menus, but again, just really I really try to get that international fresh farmers market produce on the menu at all times. I think that my takeout menu will last forever. So I will be delivering to your door at any time. So I think I'm going to definitely continue takeout. I also go to the farmer's market, and so I sell produce on that takeout menu for those who don't go to the market. So just a weekly produce, you know, just the 20 things that I have, you know, that I buy for the restaurant, I also sell to the customers. So that takeout business will stay as far as menus go. And then the menus will just follow the season, you know, as they have. I've really created a menu that was more takeout than in-house dining because I was doing more takeout than in-house dining. So now we'll reflect back and do more in-house dining, things that we can do in-house that I don't have to concern myself about them traveling. So, so lots of different things.
And it's a lot of questions about minimum wage, about tipping, about the restaurant industry doesn't take care of their employees well enough. I do believe, as a whole, some of those are fair comments, but I can only speak for my restaurants, right? I have people that have been with me 28, 29 years. I have many people that have been with me 25, 24, 20. I have many people that have been with me 15, 10 years.
Yeah.
I have hundreds of those people. If they were not good or comfortable in my restaurants, they wouldn't be with me because they will be going to anybody else offering something better. So I'm going to say, I'm sure I can always do better. My restaurants can always do better, but I do believe we have very good package that we provide to people. When in this pandemic, I took the very, I would say crazy at the beginning because it costs a lot of money that I barely had in the bank, which we kept everybody during 5, 6 weeks, 7 weeks on full payroll. Everybody, hourly, front, back. And I will do it every time. But it's obviously that we need to make sure that the people that feed America are able to feed themselves. Cannot be that Americans at work have to go to a soup kitchen or they have to be getting soup snaps, food stamps to be able to feed themselves. We need to make sure that we don't pay the minimum wage, but that we pay a living wage. I think the minimum wage is the wrong conversation. I think we need to pay a wage that people can have a good life, that they can contribute to raise their families, to send them to good schools, to take care of their healthcare issues. I cannot believe that anybody in America will not be supporting Obamacare. I'm going to be saying that since this became Democrats versus Republicans, who can be against providing Americans with healthcare? This is not it. Every American, the richest country in earth, should be providing to every one of their citizens the right to health care. Minimum wage. Let's pay what is right. Let's pay what is fair. Let's not pay the minimum. Let's pay what people should be making to have a good. I don't want to be supporting NGOs anymore. I don't want soup kitchens. I don't want snaps. If we have those programs, it's because people are not really being able to feed their families with their hard work. So let's be smart. Let's all, I know it's people here, probably some comments that one time they say I was against 77.
Let's be smart is right.
I want to make sure everybody knows I was never against the minimum wage. What I was against was that if we raise the minimum wage to the front of the house employees, we were, on top of that, the tips, we were creating a gap disparity between the cooks and the waiters. And I was not going to support something like was going to make the wealth gap bigger. I was supporting something like will allow cooks and waiters to make the right amount of money. So I raised the minimum wage in DC 3 years before even when Washington DC Mayor Bowser announced a minimum wage for DC. And I'm not gonna lie to you, 90+ percent of the people in my restaurants don't make the minimum wage, not close, and especially waiters. So tipping, it's complicated, people, because tipping has been part of the DNA of America. And quite frankly, I am not in the business of telling somebody you cannot tip somebody, okay? Everybody should be free of doing whatever. If you feel somebody is doing a good job for you, of sure you should be tipping them. But yes, I'm in the business of supporting that every man and woman working in the food industry that is beyond restaurants makes a fair living, that they are not working in poverty, because the food people of America should be able to feed themselves and take care of their families. If not, we are building a feeding system in America that is false. We must take care of the farmers, of the shelves, of the people feeding the shelves, the people doing the deliveries, the people cooking your food, and the people serving your food. I will always be in favor, not of 15th minimum wage, of the fair living wage. If the fair living wage is 18th, let's be 18th. If it's 25, let's be 25. But let's make it federal. Everybody at the same time, everybody together. So nobody will take ever advantage of some people doing it and others don't. I am a supporter of the fair living wage across the country, where we raise the living conditions of every American. All of a sudden, maybe we move so many people away from poverty, our food people are taken care of, then we can go to sleep with a better conscience. This is what I support. I hope I didn't get in trouble.
No, you didn't get in trouble.
And if I got in trouble, I like to get in trouble.
Well, that was one of the questions in the
Are
chat
there any other
box there.
questions, Paloma?
So there was a question about, let's see here, I'm scrolling up. The food supply and if it's changed for restaurants. Some restaurants like URIS use local farmers market. How does that impact businesses if there are fewer farmers and those who choose to harvest due to pandemic effects?
I'll just quickly say that I think everything has changed a little bit. You know, everybody, you know, some deliveries only come 3 times a week instead of 5 times a week. Everybody's dealing with staff issues. I think the world has to be patient for a little while. I mean, forever, which would be really nice. Patience is virtue. But everyone has to, we all have to be a little bit patient in anything that we do, you know, just waiting in line longer or just, and just being calm and being patient and being respectful and being appreciative that you know, we don't all have the staff that we need right now. And that's in all the industries. So in the food supply industry, things are more expensive. You know, they don't, things are we're going to have to charge more because we're paying our folks more, which is, as Jose just said, is so very important that we do. It's so vital. It's so vital to their lives. But nonetheless, everything's more expensive. And I think that that will be there for a while before things settle down a little bit. So things aren't available or as available. Lots of things have changed. And you just have to stay on top of it, be with it, understand it, and pivot. We are masters in the constant state of pivot. And so we know how to put out fires. We know how to change things. We know how to work on the fly. We're pros. So that's what we'll continue to do.
Thanks, Riz. So I think that's all we have time for today. Thank you, Jose and Riz, for your time.
Thank you, Paloma.
Thank you. And the last thing I want to do is put in a plug for the annual gala and fundraiser for the Foggy Bottom West End Village that World Central Kitchen will be a recipient for the award. That'll be in mid-October, so look out for information on the website.
And Jose, I want a José Andrés bobblehead. So everybody just look up José Andrés bobblehead from the Nats. And good luck in Chicago and New York with opening your restaurants, honey. I wish you all the best in the world. So and everybody get their bobblehead. $5 for the bobblehead goes to feed the world. So get your bobblehead today. Thank you.
And get your vaccine. Everybody, get your vaccine.
That's right.
And
Get
tell
your
your
vaccine.
friends.
Thank you.
And be nice to your neighbor. All kinds of good messages. Bye-bye, Paloma. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.